Hi, my name is Jeff Pagano, and welcome to the Harping on Rugby preview show on our YouTube channel. Please don't be shy with the like and/or subscribe button if you can. Join me to look ahead to Ireland's return to the Aviva Stadium on Saturday as someone back for his 123rd Harping cap. Hello once more to Mr. Neil Keego Keegan.
You must have gotten that EU grant money for having me on by now. It's been a long time, but no, good to talk to you. Still getting over last weekend as we were talking before we went on, but looking forward to this weekend.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, I was going to ask you maybe your quick thoughts on that since we didn't have you on a preview last week. What did you make of it?
See, going in, I think we spoke about it before. Going in, we kind of felt the lads weren't bruised up enough, which it's a contact sport and you've got to have the calluses on your body. But like I was relatively happy with the first 43 and a half minutes, considering new season. They seemed relatively fit at that stage. I kind of expected things to go awry a little bit in terms of positional stuff and things like that, which is fine, brand new. The thing that I needed to see was fitness. It's the one thing that can't be negotiated in these things. Whatever about new styles of play and new thoughts, and that's going to take time. No worries with that. But the fitness issue in the last 20 minutes was a worry. Forgetting about the red cards and all that sort of nonsense, which that's another issue for another podcast. There should never be, you should never need to speak to a committee afterwards about a red card. It should be red card is that. We all see it, we all know it, we all do it. But separate issue. My worry was the fitness. I know lack of game time and the season goes on for 14 months in a year now, but that was a worry. And then we go into this weekend, similar to Leinster coming in after the Munster game. We can't win for winning this weekend now. So it's a lot going on between the years. But first 43 and a half minutes were relatively enjoyable. After that, I think it's unfortunate. I think we let ourselves down. That New Zealand team is not good. They're going to have a tough shot up in Scotland this weekend. So, there's a lot left on the table and we need to turn it around.
Yeah, I mean, we were saying on the pod how you can understand the reactions of a lot of Irish fans given what's happened before the last Chicago. Like it was like 2,000 years and we hadn't beaten them.
Hmm.
The way those matches went, but the reason for those defeats was that we weren't good enough. Generally the All Blacks were way up here. We weren't at that level. This was different altogether. Things have changed. It's not the same. Even though the game went the way it used to be, we had a lot of occasions before 2016 where we were close, and then
Hmm.
they ran in three quick tries at the end. That happened loads of times, but this wasn't that. This was the problems, like you say, were on our side. There was fitness. There was the try we scored was brilliant. It was
Yeah.
everything worked, even in that move. Two lineouts. I think they're probably the only two lineouts that did work on the day for us. Things like that. So when what we wanted to do worked, we scored, and the problems are on our side, so that can be fixed going forward. So fingers crossed. And like you
Mm.
say, not much we can improve this weekend, but we'll have there's a lot to be decided this week anyway. And let's have a look at that feature
Yeah.
match of the week, which is of course Ireland v Japan. It's part of what is now known as the Quilter Nation Series, and it is taking place at the Aviva Stadium on Saturday, November the 8th, kicking off at 12:40 p.m. Irish time, with coverage on RTE2 and TNT Sports 3. Ireland named their match day squad at lunchtime on Thursday. If you're watching on YouTube, it should be right there on the screen. Or for pod listeners, it's in the program notes. Now, Keego has picked out some talking points, starting with the plan that Andy would have going into the series.
Yeah, similar to kind of Ryder Cups and all that sort of stuff. There's obviously a plan, and the kind of Sam was Six Nations. This appears to be Crowley. If they wanted to mix and match, I can't remember who I heard speaking about it this morning, but if they're saying right, the 10 jersey is up for grabs, the two of you go and do what you want to do, that means Sam starts next week. I'm not based on Sam's interactions last week and then his recent form. Um, I would again, the jersey's easy when you pay for it, but if you wanted to mix and match, this is the match you start Sam with. But again, you can't. It's a juggling act, so everything is easy from the couch. But you can't turn around and say we're picking on form, but we're going to switch our tens. Like Farrell coming in is fantastic. That's picked on form. That's going to shut everybody up. We're going to talk about the team in Spain as well. That's also going to shut everybody up. But if you're picking on form, you're pretty close to what's taking the pitch, which is fine. If you're picking on we want everyone to have a shot over this November series. Sam is the starter for this one. Sam and Casey. I do think Casey and Crowley at 9 and 10, when they're on form, are brilliant for Munster. So let's see if they react with that in there. And they have Farrell in there, who's a familiar face. Henshaw in there with something to learn. I do think Byrne and Ryan in the second row. I do think that's our knockout rugby second row. And with Ryan Baird at six, we need to see a little bit more concentration out of him. But there's obviously a clear plan happening. So, there's a lot of credit still in the bank, even after last weekend. So let's let this plan formulate. But I'm of not two minds. I'm multiple personality amount of minds coming into this weekend, because I don't know if I had the big jacket on. I don't know what I'd pick. Because we need to win. We need to show that we're bringing in new players and picking on form, but we also need to put faith in our quarterback position. So he's trying to do all of these things at once, and I think it's the best he could have done. But we need something for 80 plus minutes this weekend.
Yeah, it's interesting because we've spoken on the pod for the Leinster wraps so far this season that Sam might be, lacking a bit of confidence. He might need some game time, and there's no doubt that when it came to the New Zealand match, Crowley was being picked on form, and there was no arguments there. But I think the fact of the matter was, I don't think any out half on either side did well last weekend. They had their best outings. So I can see why they might be sticking with Jack this week and persevering throughout the series, because there's two big games coming up. Maybe want to get his confidence back as well. But and the same can be said in a lot of other positions. There was a lot of ways they could have gone. They stuck with Ryan Baird. They're sticking with Andrew Porter. There's a lot of names still there from last week. There's not as many changes as we thought there might be. So they're obviously saying, well, we need the big performance. We probably want to make sure we get the big win with those two big matches to come. But there are some interesting calls. Any other names in there in the team that you find interesting?
Well, I'm delighted that O'Toole is there. I think there's kind of or sorry, Clarkson. Apologies. I do think there's a massive opportunity for him as well. The amount of minutes the Porter's going to have in this season in his heels again. There's only so many years we can get that out of him. But there's obviously a plan there to get him bruised up and ready for the big games coming up, especially South Africa. Clarkson, if we can get as many minutes as possible out of him, because he's a big unit, can play ball. And I think that's going to be something we need going into the bigger games. Obviously, Farrell coming in. Age is nothing but a number anymore. The way the players are taken care of, people are talking, what is he, 32? People are saying 32 acting like he's 84. You know what I mean? Like he's still operating at a massively high level, constantly improving. So these are the things that we need. And then you look at the replacements. Just have it on the other screen here. Gus McCarthy, who had a great kind of baptism into the big jersey and kind of has kind of come and gone, but he's back, given a bit of responsibility, because he'll come on. Obviously Conan, I want to see Conan coming on. Prendergast coming on. Beelum is dependable as houses. So I think the balance is really good. I don't know if you kind of, is this team half pregnant? You know what I mean? Have we gone enough in the direction of showing new faces, or is this right? I think we're pretty close to delivering the baby on time, if that's the right phrase.
Okay, I won't bring that analogy on any further if you don't mind. But speaking of new things, we've got Tom Farrell at number 13 getting his first cap. He's definitely deserved. Those are two positions where, Stu McCluskey did incredibly well last week. It's a shame. I think he took a knock. He's not available this week, but he's definitely still has a part to play. I mean, we've always talked about Ringrose, Bundy, and Gary, and Robbie, but that they're kind of rotating between three positions. We need options behind them. This is a great opportunity to bring someone like Tom Farrell, who's been doing well in and getting his cap. He's well deserved.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, time to just have a quick look at Japan. The Brave Blossoms are being coached once more by our old friend Eddie Jones. They're currently ranked 13th in the world and were heavily beaten by the Springboks last weekend, although they did run the Wallabies pretty close the week before that. What do you make of their lineup, Keego?
It's the lineup is one thing. It's the coach that I'm no, worried is the wrong term. Concerned, because he's got this way of geeing up a team, whether it's back in the day with England or back in the day with Japan previously. He's going to have them ready to rock and roll. He's going to say, listen, disrupt all the stuff that we know they're going to try and disrupt. They're like I think for lineouts, for example, they're just going to fling the middle of the lineout up all day. That's literally all they're going to do. They're going to just try and throw them up as high as they can, and that's what they're going to do. And they're going to win X percentage of lineouts. Same with the scrums. They're probably going to cause a little bit of hassle on the scrum. They're going to aim at Clarkson, maybe give away a few penalties just to slow it down. Eddie Jones is the issue here. The team is going to be the team. They're never going to stop, but I do not like going up against Eddie Jones, especially when we are delicate at the moment, whether it's line out, whether it's confidence, whether it's whatever. He was licking his lips last week. He was interviewed during the week. I can't remember what the conversation was, but you could see this glint in his eye saying he fancies this. And there's nothing I like better than shutting Eddie Jones up. So hopefully we can do that early.
Yeah, he always sees himself as a kind of a 24th man. He thinks it's what he says his midweek press conferences can be as good as a converted try on the Saturday. And you know what? He's not always wrong.
Yeah.
I'll admit I don't know a lot of the names in the Japanese team. One thing I said before I still looked the lineup. Well, at least we won't see Michael Leach's name in there, but there he is at number 20.
Yeah.
I haven't Googled it, but he must be about 250 years old at this stage. But he's been playing. He's been there forever. But listen, we know that they're not going to go quietly in the night. Let's just say on on Saturday, that's for sure. Okay, quick look at the officials. Gianluca Gnecchi is the referee, and he's got a full Italian team there with him. The weather for Dublin on Saturday is mostly cloudy with a couple of showers, not much wind at all to worry about, and 13 degrees. That's mild enough for November. So, and it's a lunchtime kickoff there as well. So just be ready for that. And of course, we mustn't forget the other Irish team playing this weekend. There's a 15 playing out in Spain. There's sort of the next along in the pecking order. That's an interesting match day squad, Keego.
100%. And I think the marketing of this has been brilliant based on the narrative going into this November series and the squad that Farrell picked. When you look at that squad, I don't even know how long they are out of school, some of these people. And the whole thing about not having succession plans and all that sort of stuff. And the marketing team in the IRFU flung this team sheet everywhere. So it's really, really fantastic. And then there are players who didn't make it into that squad who are, still working around provinces here as well. So that part of it is alleviated. The future plan is there. It just wasn't shouted from the rooftops as much. So Harry Burns starting at 10 is, and he came on, did a good job. He did a good job. When was it? Was it the Munster? What game was it? One of the games recently. Mine's gone. He came on and he played with confidence. There you go. Yeah, he played with confidence. He was happy. You could hear him because there was no one in the stadium. You could hear him shouting at people. Love to see that from the 10. So he needs to keep this going and he'll have time to play around there, have time to shout at people, have time to learn how to interact with officials, which regardless of your position or level of the game is difficult. So yeah, this is great marketing, great squad. It's calming me down quite a bit.
Yeah. I mean, in some ways, I'm almost looking forward to this one more. There's a lot of pressure on the Irish team. I'm going to be real nervous going into that one. They'll need to get off to a good start. Playing Japan. This one, they can afford to be a bit more relaxed. I mean, I doubt it's going to go the same way as the game did against Portugal early in the year. That was a different story. But it definitely won't be easy for this lot. But there's a lot of players in there looking to move up, and they're having good seasons so far. Just from Leinster's point of view, you say Harry Byrne, Alex Soroka has had a great season so far, and then on the bench you've got Alex Usanoff, Diarmuid Mangan, all the Leinster's contingent. Tom Stewart is the captain. Robert Balakoon definitely deserves a chance. I can't believe he's 27 already. It seems like he's still just coming up out of the academy. So lots of names there ready to push up. So that'll be interesting. But there is a full program of internationals this weekend as well. Which one sticks out for you?
So it's Scotland, New Zealand for me because I do fancy. If Scotland can get their act together, they may. Would that be their first ever win against the All Blacks?
Oh yes.
Yeah. So and I would say after they watched the Chicago game, I think they would fancy it. Now things have to go right, obviously, but they're at home. It's going to be loud. It's going to be full, loud. Scottish men with a full skin full of beer and a skirt on, they're going to be ready to rock and roll. So they'll be there for the team and they need to be there early. But I fancy Scotland and I also fancy Italy as well this weekend.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. And of course, to round off Saturday, there's France, South Africa.
Yeah.
Repeat of that World Cup quarterfinal, which was, and I think France might want a little bit of revenge there. Now, listen, a full program of games there, very interesting. Okay, going back to
I'm too scared. I'm too scared to watch that one, so I'm not going to watch that
Why,
one.
might be a wise choice. Okay, going back to our feature match, Keego, it's 10 on the block time. How do you see it going at HQ on Saturday?
Look, similar to the zebra game for Leinster, we can't win for winning. So we need a full 80 performance, maybe 80 plus. I need to see late tries. I want to see everything happening all the way through the game. I do think Ireland will win. I do think we'll win well. I do think Japan are going to score though. I think there's going to be two tries in this Japan team, maybe early. But I think there's five tries in Ireland, two tries in Japan. Ordinary level maths, whatever way that works. But I think there's five tries in it.
Fair enough. Okay, listen, we're going to leave it there, man. Many thanks for joining us. What stand-up gigs have you got on the horizon?
Well, we're kicking off the new tour tonight at Dunleary Comedy Festival. Last few tickets available, KeegoLaughs.com. A life in the year of an Irish dad, where I talk about everything I get wrong, except for taking the bins out. That's the one thing I'm still good at. So we discuss all that. So that kicks off tonight, and then we move over to the Mill Theatre next Friday for our normal club show, and then I'm bringing the tour show to the Mill Theatre on the 22nd of November. So yeah, jump along, watch a bald man make jokes.
I wouldn't know about taking out the bins. I delegated that to one of my kids about 10 years ago. But anyway, listen, it goes relevant in the program notes. Thanks for joining us, sir.
Cheers.
And thanks to you all for checking out our latest preview show. Be sure to enjoy the match wherever you are, and look out for that Rap Pod recording on Sunday evening. Hopefully you help us out by liking, sharing, and subscribing. In the meantime, stay safe, everyone. Slán.